What's up, everybody? Another edition of Damian G Talking Sports on Big Gold Belt Media, BGB Group on Twitter, as well as Big Gold Belt Media on YouTube. Find me at Damian G347 on Twitter and Damian G347 on Instagram as well. So now that Corona has essentially stopped all sports, as I've said before on the show, the sports headlines are getting a little few and far between now that the vast majority, if not all, of the major sports leagues have ceased operations. So what we've been left with is the soap opera, is the TMZ angle of sports. And in some cases, like in my case, I thoroughly enjoy talking about the big picture topic. I thoroughly enjoy talking about sports in general outside of the game because that's the real psychology behind it. That's the real meat and the real story for any broadcast journalist. So this morning I was shown, or this afternoon, I was shown an article regarding one John Jones of MMA fame, one of the best fighters pound for pound to ever step into the octagon. That's not here nor there. What's the bigger issue is that he has his run-ins with the law, with drugs and alcohol addictions that he himself has admitted that he wants to get help on. And then sometimes life just throws a monkey wrench at you and you kind of can't deal with it. So we cope, especially now in today's society, in the midst of COVID-19. We are looking for all and any avenue to cope, whether we're in self-quarantine, whether we've been diagnosed with the illness, so we cope as best we can. Now, for our friend John Jones, as of earlier today, that includes driving under the influence and having a loaded gun under his car, or under the front seat of his car, I should say. Negligent handling of a firearm is the actual terminology. Now, I can sit here and I can tell you, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. He's a this, he's a that, he needs help. I'm going to go a different route. Yes, John needs help. The vast majority of athletes who go through these kinds of moments of mortality and humanism and just like us moments after we've put them on pedestals to be amongst the gods, when they act like us lowly mortals, we make that a big deal. Now, DUI, while serious in and of itself, I'm not knocking it. While negligibly handling a firearm is also serious, I'm not putting that down. What I'm putting down is this notion that because it's John Jones, it's a story. Well, from my standpoint, it's not a story. Do you know why it's not a story? Because this happens far too often in everyday life. This happens every day. Chet from accounting, he's probably had a DUI or something similar to that. Chet from accounting, and I'm just using an arbitrary name of Chet, so no one come at me at the inbox to say, hey, what do you got against the guy named Chet? Chet from accounting could have a DUI. Chet from accounting can have a firearm, and he could dispel a firearm. He could shoot it in the air. We've seen this before. This isn't a new story. It's just the latest example of a professional athlete that's being put in a spotlight because it's par for the course for that particular athlete. I remember years ago, we had Jahlil Okafor, formerly of the 76ers, in his, I believe it's his rookie year, where he got into a bar fight right outside, a big time brawl outside of a bar. And it was all over the news and all over the sports channels. And even back then, I thought, who cares? It's no different than if I do it, you do it, person listening at home does it. Shoot, it's no different than if 45 does it. Our esteemed president of the United States. It's no different. All it is the platform in which it's being done on. So I don't really care that John Jones got caught out there on a DUI. I don't really care that he had a firearm underneath his passenger seat or his driver's seat. It doesn't faze me. You know what phases me? The fact that we made this into a big deal. When everyone from all walks of life have done something like this, that have gotten the authorities involved and police involved, breathalyzer tests. Shoot, I'll self-disclose. I've driven buzzed before back when I was in college. I'm grateful I didn't get pulled over or arrested or busted or anything of that sort. Now, do I think John Jones has a problem? I think we all have our demons, and he needs, and hopefully will, get the help he deserves. That's everyone. That's what my hope for everybody. But on the other hand, as I was talking to some people, they're telling me that he needs to be severely punished. There's no way in hell Dana White's punishing one of his biggest cash cows, because talent trumps everything. I'll say it again. If you don't know this by now, because of all the Mount Rushmores of sports out there, talent trumps everything. So I literally, if I was a professional athlete, I guarantee you I could do this and get away with it. I could literally speed at 130 miles an hour, steal from a grocery store because I was hungry, just narrowly miss hitting somebody while I was speeding away, and probably still get away with it. And if you're asking me who did this, I'm sure someone's done this exact same thing that I just diagrammed and gotten away with it too. You know, someone that comes to mind is a former Dallas Cowboy Greg Hardy and Carolina Panther Greg Hardy, who, again, talent trumps everything. Domestic violence, assault and battery, weapons, and yet was still allowed because of his talent in the NFL to play football, to get paid millions of dollars to play a sport. Now, I'm not bashing it. I will always be pro athlete in terms of make that money, cash them checks. You'll never hear a peep out of me for that. I'll say whether or not someone's worth the money, but that's beside the point. But it brings me back to that original point about John Jones. He's one of the best that ever did. I said it at the beginning. He's one of the best that ever did it. So why in the hell wouldn't things be made or put in place that allow him to make his next fight? What's Dana White going to do? Suspend him forever? No, because he's going to generate revenue for himself and the UFC. He ain't going anywhere. He's hurting himself more so than anything else. This reminds me back in the day of just, Jeff Hardy, the wrestler, when he was going through all his substance abuse problems when he was in TNA, they allowed him to go out there drunk and work a match against Sting on a pay-per-view. Millions are watching at home. My man went out there drunk and still performed. You hear tons and plenty of athletes out there saying, hey, I played high. I played drunk. You think if Chet from accounting went to work drunk, you're going to get the same wink wink? No, he's not. Let's not mince words here. So for me, this is a non-story. To tie this up in a little bow, this is a non-story. The bigger story for me is, and did John Jones lose his ability to fight? No. Is the UFC going to use him again? Yes. Are charges inevitably going to be dropped? Yep, I'd say so. So what's the problem? No different than Chet from accounting. He's only just on a higher pedestal than Chet could ever hope to be. So that's my take on that. A quick little aside of what I was thinking about from last week about Tom Brady and joining the Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His people filed a claim for TB times TB, Tom Brady, TB12, his brand, versus with Tampa Bay. And I brought this up last week, and I even said it. TB12 in Tampa Bay, that's going to make money. Brady as a Buccaneer is going to make money before he even steps on the field. And I was right. Now that he filed that claim, he's going to get it. And we're going to be treated to a whole season of TB12 in Tampa Bay. TB and TB. tuberculosis, if anything, is getting even more pushed down the wayside, because when I was a kid, TB meant tuberculosis. But I just love the fact that the athletes are able to kind of monetize even their initials, their nicknames. It's something else, man. John Jones can do it as Double J if you really wanted to. But I just find it funny. Oh, and before I get into next week's too, I want to just drop this little nugget as a tease for next week or in 2 days from now. MLB was supposed to start today. MLB's opening day was supposed to start. Now, I've seen things thrown around about a 32-game season if they don't start until September, because the following has been canceled until September sports-wise. The French Open, the Boston Marathon, horse racing's Triple Crown, all postponed until September. So, with that being said, a baseball 32-game season, if they went all the way to September, because I don't honestly think we're going to get past this in terms of sports until about June, where we have a better handle on the cases of whether or not they're just going to play in empty stadiums or empty arenas. But a 32-game season, no. I mean, the players will still get paid. They'll still get their money. The owners, I don't know how they're going to make their money. But it's humorous at this point, guys. Anyone who's known me knows that I'm pretty much over sports in general in terms of like, oh, who won the game last night? I don't care. I root for my teams, yeah, but I don't really care. The big picture here is, as I said in my first episode here on Big Gold Belt Media, what are we going to do now that there's no sports? So what's sports going to do now that there's no sports? We got ESPN showing WrestleManias. We had the Ocho the other day showing random sports that people wouldn't give two what's about. So I want to know how sports is going to pivot. How are they going to actually move to the next phase? Do we just go back to just doing everything in empty stadiums? Do we have a limited amount of tickets sold? Do we just do everything on closed circuit television and pay a price to watch said programming? These are the things I'm going to be interested in. But for next week, I want to let you know the next time I'm on here, I will give you my actual real feedback on the 32-game season and any other little wrinkles that MLB wants to throw in there. Because as of right now, without seeing a plan, without seeing something put into paper, I don't like the thought of that. And I know a lot of old school purists like that. I'm not a fan of just, hey, play everybody in your division 45 times, just so you can keep the majesticness of the World Series and the playoffs alive by not having the Mets play the Yankees or the Nats play the Red Sox. I think we're far past that. There's a happy medium, just like with the NBA. There's a happy medium if they start the NBA season in June again, where you literally can say, hey, playing games for the last spot in the playoffs, and then go from there. I'm interested to see what the sports leagues are going to do. And before I go, Steve Ballmer, owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, literally walked into a meeting with $400 million in cash and purchased the LA Forum from the MSG Group. Now, I don't know if he was there, but he bought it in cash. He bought the old LA Forum property, which is owned by Dolan and the MSG Group. $400 million in cash. We out here talking about economic stimulus, bailouts, and Steve Ballmer, who is a multi-million billion-dollar owner, just bought land for $400 million in cash. If you don't see the disparity and why I stopped giving two hoots about who wins what game, that should be enough to tell you. If I wasn't done before, I'm done caring about who wins. It's all business. That's the fun part for me. Talking about this stuff with you all, talking about the business aspect, talking about contracts and money and what's the worth of it all, and then talking about stories about John Jones getting pulled over for a DUI on a Thursday. But that's just me. Hey, you may disagree. That's fine. Hit me up on Damian G347 on Twitter, Damian G47 or Damian Gracia 47 on Instagram. You've been listening to Damian G Talks on the Big Gold Belt podcast, Big Gold Belt Media, BGB Group on Twitter, as well as Big Gold Belt Media on YouTube. And I'll catch you next time. Oh, and stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't go out unless you have to. Don't. Just stay away from people, especially all my people back in New York. I love you. Be safe and be careful, and take care of each other best you can. Bye.